Hi everyone, my name is Cindy Applebaum. I currently teach at Collegium Charter School. I'm in my 4th year there. I teach Honors Biology, AP Environmental Science, and I have a new course, Extreme Weather and Natural Disasters. The reason for enrolling in specifically a STEM program looking at assessment instruction is my kind of want and need, my desire to kind of grow. And also I feel as though I can better serve my students, so I want to be able to pull in specific strategies that can help grow my instruction. Things I like to do in my free time: baking, especially this time of year, hiking, biking, traveling more so in the warm weather, and just general exploring. That's my husband and I there at Haleakala National Park, my dog Sawyer, and then just this past weekend we had the chance to go to Luray Caverns in Virginia, which is amazing. If you get the chance, you should definitely check it out. So how do students learn science? A couple of takeaways from this week's reading. One thing that jumped out: over time. So students are starting to develop these skills long before they ever get into a classroom. They're making sense of their surroundings and using things that they'll be able to apply in the future. Second point, tackling misconceptions and preconceptions. So some of the things that they do learn in the environment, in their natural environment, day to day, is not always transferable to kind of an academic setting. So making sure those areas are addressed in order to open up their thinking. The third point, classroom culture. So there has to be this environment that essentially teacher created, peer supported, that helps to develop the scientific thinking. Which ties into the fourth point there, intentional guidance. So it's up to the teacher to design the course in order to kind of foster this classroom culture and this kind of learning environment, pushing, developing reasoning skills, exploration, imagination, in order to support them and develop their inquiry skills. And then that last point there, reflection, which is key, asking questions and framing things in a way that gets the kids thinking and then gives them the chance to kind of think about their own learning and their thinking process. So what are barriers, specifically addressing scientific learning? One is access. So it has to be designed in a way that the curriculum, the content is appropriate, and specifically kind of pushing these forward-thinking matters. The second point, lack of support. So students have to be able to develop these skills over time. They should not be expected to know how to do things off the bat. 3, gaps in understanding. So in order to kind of scale upwards, they have to have this foundation. If there's gaps in the foundation, then they're going to struggle to be able to develop those other skills. Lack of timely, meaningful feedback. So in order to inform their learning and your instruction, they have to know where they stand and where their thinking is at. Time. So my course is a Keystone course. It is jam-packed. Some of these things can be a little bit more labor intensive. The payout is great, but having time, day to day, month to month in a school year can be a challenge. And then perception. So this one jumped out to me, that students think that scientists are dull, boring, that it's unrewarding, that they're generally these old bearded guys, which is not always the case. How does your classroom adhere? So a couple of things. I'm sure there's more opportunities for reflection. So I give self-reflections, peer reflections, and then kind of framing questions or thinking in a way to have them think about their own processing. Formative assessments, of course, to inform instruction and give them feedback. I use reciprocal teaching. Students develop their own study guides. So in that process, they're working together to kind of coach each other. I have to admit, I do struggle with completely authentic inquiry, and that's something I'm looking at developing. And then I push this classroom culture that has high expectations, that pushes their thinking, develops their reasoning, and really gets them thinking in kind of a bigger picture way. So my current perspective, I would kind of describe it as, it's science focused with pulling in as many other aspects as I can, depending on the topic. And then this kind of ideal scenario is that all-inclusive capstone course, specifically sustainable society, sounds awesome, but where everything's kind of in harmony, in balance. And not sure if this applies to our course or if it was just the spring course. In case you all wanted to know, almond joys are my favorite candy.